The promise of innovation is higher profits, higher revenues, higher market share, perhaps market leadership. That's why innovation is the holy grail of business. But what if not all innovations are like this? What if some innovations, instead of increasing profits, reduce profits? What if some innovations, instead of increasing revenues, reduce revenue? And we are here to talk about such innovations. I call them profit-destroying innovations because these innovations threaten to destroy profits. They pose significant challenge for companies in the industry they appear. As a result, a lot of firms, especially successful firms, fail to deal with these. We are here to learn about this dark side of innovation, these profit-destroying innovations, how companies struggle with them, and most importantly, how can you apply these lessons in your industry? All right? Profit-destroying innovations can occur in almost any industry. It doesn't matter whether you have a product business, you are a services business, you are a high-tech business, you are a low-tech business. It doesn't matter whether you are a new business or you are an old, mature business. Such innovations can happen almost in any industries. The challenging part of this innovation or these innovations is that when they arise in an industry, they threaten the survival of incumbents in that industry. These innovations pose two very difficult choices for incumbents. Incumbents look at the choice set and they find, on one hand, they could embrace a profit-destroying innovation and cut their own profits. On the other hand, they can try to prevent these innovations or avoid them and hope these innovations fail in the marketplace. A particularly scary example of a profit-destroying innovation is a digital camera. Consider what a digital camera does to an analog camera. It basically removes the need for any film roll. Film roll used to be the key profit driver of Kodak and Polaroid before a digital camera came. Back in 1983, when Sony came up with the first digital camera, Mavica, Kodak and Polaroid looked at these new technologies and they figured out that the future of photography was digital cameras. They did recognize that. And they did what every excellent company should do. They spent enormous resources pursuing these technologies because they did not know how to create a digital camera. In the end, over the next 10 years, they spent billions of dollars on mastering these technologies. As a result, Kodak was able to create some of the industry-leading technologies in digital imaging. However, when it came to commercialization, it was not as aggressive. And what really happened there? Managers within the firm realized closer to commercialization that if they succeeded with digital cameras, they are going to destroy their profits voluntarily. As a result, managers started questioning, why do we want to do this? Is that even the right thing to do? There was an enormous resistance within the organization, and this resistance made the commercialization efforts of Kodak very weak. As a result, other firms won in the market, and Kodak, in spite of great technologies, was not able to win in digital cameras. It went from 80% market share in the pre-digital camera era to 18% market share today. It went from multi-billion dollar profits to chronic losses, as we are seeing today. The same thing has happened in music industry. The same thing happened in pearls industry with cultured pearls. And there are many other examples of the same phenomena. We also saw how LED will probably be a profit-destroying innovation in lighting industry. If laser-based hair removal technology becomes mainstream and very successful, it will eliminate replacement demand in blades and razor industry. If wireless electricity becomes a successful technology, it will eliminate replacement demand in alkaline battery. It's going to be the same kind of choice making these incumbents will face. However, the good news is that not all firms who face such innovations lose. I found some firms that have effectively dealt with these innovations. And based on the successes and failures of these firms, I have distilled some important lessons for participants in our program to apply to their industries. So these lessons, very briefly, are as follows. Number one, the firms that succeed in the face of such innovations are those that are able to break out of this dichotomy of avoid innovation or embrace innovation. We see in the classroom the example of Canon. We see how Canon created a prosumer category in digital SLR cameras. We see how Swatch changed the way people looked at watches completely. That allowed them to transform these innovations into a third option that helps them deal with this threat. Number two, companies that face these innovations are often stuck in a trap wherein they look at the future from the rosy lens of their past success. Firms who are successful are able to break out of this trap. Firms who are successful are able to look at the future in a much more expansive sense. And that brings us to the third lesson, which is the firms who succeed have to look at their industry in a much broader way. Unlike Kodak and Polaroid, they looked at their industries as if the future of their industry would depend on their capability. We talk about in the classroom how Kodak worked on convergence products and Polaroid worked on digital printers on top of cameras. Now, neither of these scenarios unfolded. The fact is, firms look at one scenario, and that's possible, one scenario in future. What they forget is that there are equally likely or even more likely scenarios that may emerge, and that they need to get a wide-angle view of their industry, of the adjacent industries, so as to find all the emerging opportunities which will provide them the answer to dealing with profit-destroying innovations. Finally, the firms that succeed don't rely on one strategy. They rely on a whole host of strategies. We talk about these strategies in much detail in our program. Basically, there are several ways in which firms can prevent erosion of value. There are ways in which firms can transform an innovation. There are ways in which firms can create new value. Okay, so these are all the strategies that participants apply to their situation, and at the end of it, they come up with very compelling future states that they want to get to. But these are the four key lessons that the program allows participants to apply in their industries. So this is the roadmap for the next 2 days for us. We are going to use these 4 modules to come up with an option C, a game changer for you. In the first module, which is called Assessing Profit-Destroying Innovations, you will do 2 very important things. First, you will find and apply techniques to assess a rogue innovation, a profit-destroying innovation. You will be able to predict which innovation can become a profit-destroying innovation. You will also be able to predict where in your industry is it likely to arise and when is it likely to arise. Who is going to bring that innovation in your industry? Number 2, you will learn some quantitative techniques to assess how much of destruction is possible by various profit-destroying innovations in your industry and how long such an innovation would take to fully destroy value. So you will learn and calculate, will it be a 10% destruction, 50% destruction, or 80% destruction? Will it take 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years? At the end of this module, you will have a good handle on what you are looking for, how destructive is that innovation. Module 2 is called Imagining Possibilities. Here, you will go through a systematic process to understand the full scope of changes which are going to be unleashed in your industry by a profit-destroying innovation. You will learn techniques by which you will be able to look at your industry in a very broad way. You will look at and identify major and minor trends in your industry, major and minor trends in your adjacent industries. At the end of this module, you will have a good understanding of what are 3, 4, or 5 end states which are possible that you may end up with if you did nothing today. Third module, which is called Visualizing End States, is one of the most fun modules that participants love to go through. Here, you see how other companies have applied several value strategies. You will learn what are all the ways by which you can prevent those end states from occurring that you saw or that you assessed in the previous module. You will apply value strategies to prevent erosion of value. You will apply value strategies to transform an innovation. You will do some very creative stuff to come up with what are some of the new ways in which you can create value in this industry, in your industry. At the end of this module, you will have a small portfolio of very compelling options, end states that you would want your business, your organizations to be in when you look forward. This portfolio of end states will constitute your option C. And finally, The fourth module, which we call creating pathways, will help you create a plan to implement this option C that you've created for yourself. You will create a pathway from here to the end state that you desire. Now, unlike most implementation plans, which are 6 to 24 months long, we are talking about time horizons in 5, 10, 15 years length. So you need a different set of tools and techniques to deal with implementation and execution over such long time horizons. In this module, you will identify which capabilities you need 5 years, 10 years down the line. How will you create those capabilities? Will you use internal methods? Will you use external methods? And what makes a method more successful than the others? You will identify some of those levers that are going to be the most important in your success in this journey. You will identify actors, organizations, institutions, both internal and external, to your organization and to your industry. These people that you need to bring on board to help you get to the end state that you want to get to. And most importantly, you will identify a small set of indicators that you will monitor over the next 10 to 15 years, or your organization would monitor, which would help you steer your company, your industry to the end state that you have designed, so that you are a winner in spite of facing a profit-destroying innovation. So let's get started with the first module, assessing profit-destroying innovations.